Everybody, what's going on? This is Lance Tamashiro, and I am super glad that you made it here today to this training because what we're going to learn today is a bunch of things about how you can make some progress in your business, about how you can start actually moving forward. And I mean, the ultimate goal is Robert's going to show you exactly what you need to do in order to have your first five-figure week. And I mean, if you haven't done five figures in a week yet, or less, or even in a month, you're going to love this because the neat thing about what Robert's going to show you today is actionable steps that you can take to literally, whether you have a product yet, whether you have a list yet, whether you have any traffic sources or not yet, he's going to show you how you can still, in spite of all of that, generate a five-figure week very easily, very simply, and I mean, it's much easier than you think. It's just getting through a couple of your own mental blocks and moving forward and doing the right things. And I mean, we've done this with our students over and over and over again, and I can't wait for Robert to share this. So if you guys can hear me out there, if you guys know where the question box is, go ahead and type in your local time into the question box. And as you do, we want to know like where you're at, what time it is, and I want to welcome Robert to the call. And Robert, thanks for putting this together. I know you've been really excited about this particular training, and I mean, I think people are going to get a lot out of it. So thanks for doing this for us.
Anytime, no problem. And it's kind of funny. I mean, it seems like every time we do one of these calls, it's like you and I kind of chit-chatted right before, and there's always something that like relates directly to what we were about to talk about. And you know, you and I see people over and over. They struggle to make the first couple sales online. They make the first couple sales, and they're like, okay, cool, I'm done. Gonna close down my website. Gonna take a break. Gonna take a 1-year vacation. I'm done. I made it. Made my couple sales, and that's kind of disappointing. And I mean, it's good to like get to that finish line. It's good to like get to the point where you know you put your product out for sale. Good to make your first couple sales, but then what? You know, then you have to keep going, have to keep growing, and that's going to be a lot about what we talk about today is how to generate a five-figure week out of thin air. And I mean, let's think about that number real quick. That whole five-figure thing. What I mean by that, if I can get my pen out, we're talking about making $10,000 in a week. And I saw in the question box, some people said that will they be happy with $10,000 in a year, $10,000 in a month, and it's really important for you guys to be able to kind of hit whatever that new ceiling is, kind of, you know, whatever number that is kind of a little bit out of bounds for you, whatever dollar value is a little bit out of your comfort zone. It's really important to you know, have a really big month, or maybe have a month that you didn't at first think that you could get to, but because you did these things we're going to talk about today, because you built a list, because you got traffic, because you put out a really good offer and made some sales, delivered some value, now you can repeat this and grow, and every time you do it, it gets easier and easier. So many of you responded to me when this webinar was coming up, and I asked you guys, well, you know, where are you stuck? How can Lance and I help you? How can we get you to where you need to go? So here's Lance and I. If you don't know us, Lance is the Asian guy, I'm the white guy, that's Robert and Lance. And so one thing that I heard over and over from the different responses was I heard these things like, well, I don't have focus. Well, I don't know, you know, what next step to take. I don't know how to get myself excited or in the mood to do the things I know I need to do. So for many of you, the issues holding you back is not a lack of knowledge. It's not a lack of technology. It's just that you don't have the right, I guess, like mental tools or the right mental attitude to get to where you need to go. And one thing that really has helped me is having 100% absolute focus on just one project at a time. And I know that's really, really tempting for you guys to say, well, you know, at 8 o'clock in the morning, let me get a better pen actually, to say at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be, you know, doing some blog marketing, doing some affiliate links. And then what I'm going to do at 10 o'clock in the morning is I'm going to go ahead and do some CPV ads, some CPA ads. What I'm going to do at 12 p.m. is I'm going to do some article marketing. What I'm going to do at 2 p.m. is I'm going to try doing some, I don't know, some ad swaps. And believe it or not, this is what we hear over and over. And what someone will do is they'll be doing these in different niches every single time. Someone will say, well, this is going to be in the weight loss niche. And this is going to be in the self-defense niche. And they say, and this is going to be in the self-help niche. And this is going to be in the make money online niche. And I mean, maybe you're there at this point. Maybe you've been at this place in the past, but this is not going to work. It's not going to work to have 4 or 5 different jobs in parallel. What is going to work is to have one thing going on right now and stick to it. And it seems kind of weird because it seems like on a typical day, Lance and I really... Oops, I muted myself there. We'll have a webinar coming up. We'll be emailing for it coming up in the future. We'll have a product. We're getting ready, stuff like that. But it's really just doing one little thing. And I don't know about you, but in my head, the way I'm thinking about it is it's like there's this monorail track, and there's this car in it, and I can't really deviate. Either I can go forward or backward. I'd rather go forward than go backward and just do 100% one thing. So how do you do that? How do you keep making progress on one single product, one single offer? What you do is have a really good reason why. I know that Lance talks about his daughter all the time. He talks about his daughter all the time when he says, he wants for her to, go to a good school, have her, pay her college paid for, be able to go on a trip. If you have a really good reason for it, doing the things that you do. I mean, I know I want to pay off my house very soon. So I do that, and I get up out of bed every day excited to figure out how I'm going to make a bunch of extra sales, how I'm going to make $1,000 today, how am I going to make $10,000 this week, and get from where I am now to where I need to be. And so you need to have just that focus, be working on one project at a time. Don't have your time all split up. And then once you have a really good reason, now you're saying, well, I'm not just trying to make $1,000. I'm not just trying to make $5,000. I'm trying to make $10,000 to pay off this debt. I'm trying to make $20,000 to buy this car. Now you have an emotional reason attached to it. And before I continue, can any of you go to the question box and tell me what this object is, what this pretty much medieval-looking torture device is? And go ahead. Some of you have it in the question box, and then I'll get back to that in 1 second. So we're talking about got to have focus and think about you're just on a track and you're heading towards this unstoppable goal of where you're at. And once you hit that goal, well, it's not the end goal. It's the first of many goals, and you'll be able to launch your product, get your membership site going, make a bunch of money, and now use that money for something else. Have you ever heard anyone say this saying that money is the root of all evil? Stuff like that. Well, usually you hear that from poor people, right? And they kind of have I guess, like a no and a yes way of thinking, right? Like a 1 and a 0, right? And their thing is either that, okay, if I don't have money, then I'll be happy. And if I do have money, then I won't be happy, and that's all there is to it. But what ends up happening is, well, if you end up getting that good job, or you end up getting that successful product launch, or build a list a certain size, or have a pretty good promotion going on, once you get that money, well, it's not like now I'm unhappy. Now it's like, well, now all these possibilities are now opened up. And now that I actually have money, well, now I could quit my job. And before I was kind of making up an excuse for why I couldn't quit because I didn't have money. But now that I have money, well, if I don't quit my job, now that means that I'm not much of a risk taker. If you said things like, well, I can't help my family financially. I can't take care of, this person's mortgage. If you didn't have money, you have an excuse for not doing it. But now that you have money, now it's kind of on you. So my brother-in-law had this saying that something like, money makes you more what you are. Okay, so it's not like money is bad, but it just now opens up all these new possibilities. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I want to get you to the point where now you have choices. Now you've made some initial successes and you can keep going. So once you get past, a certain hurdle, there are more hurdles to come. And that's okay. That means that it's an ongoing process. But what has really helped me, for Lance and I to break through a lot of our monthly income goals is to have this thing called 100% confidence. And so what I mean when I'm asking you right now is, well, do you think, yes, you on the call right now, talking right to you, do you think that you could make $1 million this year? And if the answer is yes, it's going to happen, I'll do whatever it takes to pull out all the stops and make whatever phone calls, do whatever, whatever number of hours I got to do, learn whatever skill I need to do to get that, then you're at 100%. If I asked you if you think you can make $10,000 this year, at least, online, Well, for a lot of you, then it's 100%. You say, like, even if I just phoned it in, even if I only launched a couple of products, then I'm 100% confident. There's no stopping me. It's not 90%. It's not 80%. I'm 100% sure that I can hit $10,000 in a year. And so once you kind of do that, now it's just a matter of a number, right? Now it's just a matter of, well, if you think that, okay, it's a no-brainer for you to make 10K in a year, well, then how do you get you to 10K in a month? How do we get you to just get, 12 times as much as confident so that now you can kind of build on your past experiences, build on your past successes, and repeat what's already worked for you, okay? And it just depends on what level you're at. But I know that when I even think about myself, I hate getting too personal for stuff like this, but when I think about, can we make $20,000, $50,000 from this one launch? And the answer is no. Well, then why is that? And how can I make it where it's 100% a certainty? Is that going to mean that I'll have to individually talk to different people? Does that mean that I will have to add in a couple of extra bonuses to make it a no-brainer? Does that have to mean that maybe I will have to contact my list multiple times? But let's just get you these 3 tools. Let's get you enough focus where you're not distracted, you're moving towards this unstoppable goal, and you're making progress every day because you have a really good reason to do it. It's not just about a number, it's about what you want your life to turn into, and to keep you motivated every step of the way. You're 100% certain you've made up your mind, no matter what, you're going to get to this point, and now you can overcome this inner conflict I talked about a few minutes ago, where Lance and I deal with people who make their first sale ever online in their entire life, or they make their first $10,000 launch ever in their entire life, and before it was $1,000. And then they kind of hit the brakes and say, whoa, okay, I'm done. I made my $10,000 launch. Now there's nowhere to go but down. I just made my 10K launch. What if my next launch is 5K? Well, you know what? I mean, who cares? Then you'll figure out it's not just about me. It's not just pass or fail. It's what different things did I not repeat, or what things do I need to do differently? And a lot of the times it comes down to be honest, without getting too into it, is the size of someone's list. They make one product launch, they get comfortable, they stop building it, they think it's just going to continue forever. Well, it's not. You do have to kind of change with the time. And what's really helped Lance and I change with the time is this thing that we'll get into a little bit later on called a customer avatar, which means that if you know your perfect customer, and it might be an actual customer on your list, but if you think about, are your subscribers, are your Twitter followers, Facebook followers, customers, are they mostly men or women? Is it like 60% women or 60% men? What's just the average? What's their age? Are they mostly young or mostly old? What are they mostly looking for when they buy your product? Stuff like that. And what ends up happening is when it comes for Lance or I to make a class about video marketing, or we make a class about membership sites, we know exactly, I have a picture in my head of who I'm talking to, and that will help me sell better, make a better product, and it all ties back into the other tools we were talking about. And so along the way, when we're trying to make this continuous progress and pretty much fighting with ourselves more than anyone else, I would say the number one thing that's helped me, especially in the past, I want to say even 6 months to a year, I've made a big change in my thinking, is that the answer is either that your attitude needs to change or the way you do things need to change. And we'll get to the end of that a little bit later, but that's the first decision to make, is do you need to change your way of looking at stuff? And then once you get to that, now how can that relate to the action you're taking? I mean, I know so many people on this call looking at the names who know everything there is to know about WordPress, about setting up a web page, about building a list, but then they have this attitude like, well, I can't charge more than $10 for my product. Or I've got all this knowledge, but there's no way I can put it into a product and sell it because who would pay me money? So until you get your attitude fixed, that's not going to really help. But now if that's fixed, now you can begin making progress. And you know what? Just having a good attitude alone is not going to help you, which is why it's kind of a weird and difficult thing to figure out. But you fix yourself, then you can fix everything else. So we'll get now to this little question of the hour here. So we had people saying this is an anvil exercise thing, cowbell, weight hooked to a chain, and this is called a kettlebell. And I mean, one thing that Lance and I are always kind of mindful about is we work from home, and as soon as you start working from home, you instantly gain like 10, 20 pounds. I'm sure Lance will agree with me on this. And so what we do is, because we're sitting at home a lot of the day, we do have to kind of get out of the house and kind of be aware that we have to replace what we lost when we quit our day jobs. I know that when I had a day job, I walked to work. It was like half a mile. I worked out. I went to the gym during my lunch break. And then on some days, I worked out again with friends after work. And now that I'm at home, well, it's really tempting to just kind of sit around all day, work on stuff, watch TV, go to sleep, hang out with the woman or the man, whoever you are, and that's it. And so what I do is I pretty much walk or run about like half an hour every day. Some days walk, some days run. And so this one thing I've been working on, or the one thing I've been using the last couple of weeks, is this thing called a kettlebell. And what you do is you pretty much grip both ends of this with both hands, and you kind of swing it between your legs. And I'll just bring up a quick video of this, and most of you know what I'm talking about. If I can find a good thing, here we go. Oops, nope, there we go. So pretty much you just swing this thing just between your legs and kind of lift it up about eye level. And it's one of those things where you only have to do it a couple minutes a day, and it works hundreds of muscles, and it's kind of like digging a ditch. And so I mention this because I've been using this for a couple of weeks, and the first day I did it, I can only do 10 of these. And pretty much every day I've been doing it, I've been able to do like 5 more, 10 more, and I pretty much just, swing this, and then, try to do, my goal is to do 75, but now I can do about 40 at a time, take a break for about a minute, come back, do 30, take a break, do 10, but it's just one of those things where the amount of, I don't know if it's just me getting used to it or the muscle growth, but I'm swinging like this 35-pound weight, and when I started a few days ago, I was at 10 pounds. 10 repetitions, and now I can get up to 40. So the same kind of thing applies to you and your marketing, because if you don't do stuff for a while, if you don't, market yourself, if you're not used to speaking, not used to doing webinars for a while, then you'll get kind of tired. But if you keep doing it on a consistent basis, next thing you know, you'll be, doing quadruple the amount you did initially, and it's easy, and it's just because you kind of got in that habit of doing it every day. You had a pretty good attitude about doing it, and you had a good reason to do it, and then next thing you know, now it's easy to go from 1K month to a 5K month to a 10K month and beyond, and it just is a matter of knowing what you got to do and heading in that direction. And it comes down to, there's your attitude and then the actions you have to take. So let's first real quick talk about your attitude. Now, there's different things like, procrastination. It's not always bad, is it? Everyone talks about how procrastination is so bad, and it's real easy to get stuck in this rut. But I mean, if you followed every single path or did every single thing you could do, then you'd have a bunch of stuff that wasn't finished. Okay? And on the other hand, you do need to realize how you stop yourself from doing things. And here's something that kind of gets on my nerves I just wanted to kind of put out there, is that, have you ever dealt with someone, or have you ever even had the situation where you said, well, I can't do this because I need to have all the facts first. I can't set up a membership site because I need to know about this with membership sites. I need to know what plugins, need to know what all the modules will be, need to know what all the WordPress settings will be. I have to know the whole entire big picture before I do anything. And on the other hand, have you dealt with someone, or has this been you, where you said, well, I'm just going to chip away at membership sites. I'm going to set up a little bit of a site, a little bit of a site, a little bit of a site, and I can't finish. Oh no, because if I finish, then what will there be to do next? Now I'll be completely done. And so that's one thing I would tell you to start looking at is, do you use completion or do you use the process to stop yourself from doing stuff? I mean, I could look at the kettlebell thing and I could say, well, I need to learn all the different swings, the different exercises. Should I do the one where I hold it over my head? No, you know what I'm doing with this? I'm doing one swing, and that's it, just because that's what I want to do. That's what my goal is, to right now get to 75 swings, and I'll continue from there. But right now, I'm just trying to do, I'm not trying, but I'm doing this brand new thing in my life. Now, it's also dangerous to compare yourself to others. You could say, well, I'm not going to exercise because everyone else is kind of sitting around, and the obesity rate in America is whatever percent it is, and the average person only exercises 5 minutes a day or even less, blah blah blah. And the same thing goes with internet marketing. You could say, well, you know what, the average person in internet marketing doesn't make money, so even if I do make $10, then now I'm above average, now it's time to quit. Or you could say, well, you know, this person makes $10 million a year, so I'm not even going to try to make $10,000 a year because there's no way I'll get caught up. But you know what? They're on their path, you're on your path, and you don't want to fall into this dangerous trap of talking yourself out of stuff before you've even started. Now, what have you done in the past that's made money? Have you written articles, or could you write articles? Have you proofread stuff, or could you proofread stuff? Could you set up a website for something? Could you set up someone's Facebook fan page, someone's traffic, someone's WordPress blog? Or do you know these things, and can you do this for someone else to make some quick money? And I ask this because some money is better than no money, isn't it? And there's nothing wrong with getting some money just to solve your problems right now, to pay off the bills, to pay off the rent, pay off the mortgage, get a little bit of the stress out of the way, and then maybe you'll even like that skill, and now you can repeat that, charge a higher price, or even make a product out of it. Even if it's that old product or that old service that made you $1,000 way back in the day, maybe you can dust it off, look at it for an hour, and figure out, is it still current? Can I update it for the current year? And then I'll keep continuing from there. And it's real easy to find the bad in every single thing around you. I mean, I'm sure you could be on this webinar and decide you don't like the background of my PowerPoint. You could decide that you don't like the way I speak. You could decide that you don't like what time we schedule today's webinar. And that's really easy to do. It's easy to find the one excuse not to do stuff, but how far has that gotten you so far? So instead of finding the bad in everything, how about you figure out how to just kind of go with the flow and get along and get your result, get something out of what you want to do, get to your $10,000 or higher goal. Don't have a scarcity versus abundance, or don't have a scarcity mindset, have an abundance mindset. Have you ever known someone, or maybe this is you, where you're afraid you are concerned about every $10, every $100 payment, all right? Have you just made $10,000, but you're afraid to spend $100 on hosting? Worried about $100 in PayPal fees? Worried about one refund? Are you hesitant to sell a few copies of your product because one person might not like it? Are you worried about making a product? Worried about making this WordPress plugin? Worried about making that training course in weight loss because you're worried that people have already been there, there are too many competitors? Or concerned about what someone might think or say, but you haven't even got to that point yet. Why are you so concerned? Or are you worried that you can't make a product because you can't make a product right now because a year from now it's going to stop selling and it's going to be out of date and people are going to be mad, and you can't ever go back and update a product? Oh no. Are people who are afraid to price their product at $2,000 because people might not buy. It's the silliest thing, being afraid of a number, or even people who don't want to have an affiliate program. They launch a product, they sell 100 copies, and Lance and I look at their business and say, well, you might make 500 copies if you have an affiliate program, if you give away half your commission or all your commission, and they don't want to do it. And we're saying, yeah, but even if your affiliate program only makes you one extra sale, and even if you had to give away all that commission, that's one new lead, one new buyer on your list. Now your business has grown. So all these examples I've been telling you about, I mean, these all seem kind of silly, but haven't we all been in one way or another in a similar situation as this and said, you know, I'm just afraid of selling at $2,000. But now if you take a step back and figure out, well, am I afraid just because I'm afraid, or would it be better for me to have a good mood about it and be positive and move forward because that's better for everyone involved? That will help my business grow. So what ends up happening with typical newbie that we deal with? I'm not talking about you. No, of course not. I'm not talking about you or anyone you know, but let's just see what ends up happening with a lot of people. A lot of people come online and they see all the different possibilities, all the different choices. They say, I'm going to use all free tools. I'm going to figure out, I need to know about SEO. So instead of taking a course on search engine optimization, I'm going to read all the articles about it, watch all these videos on YouTube, figure it all out for free, and I'll be able to piece the whole thing together, right? Or then they go to the digital hoarder model, which means I'm going to buy 25 courses on this subject, and that's got to have all the information, right? If every course has about 10% of the information, it's got to all be covered in 25 different courses. And then what happens? You end up spending a bunch of money. You end up keeping a total of the amount of money you've lost in your business so far. You end up having a garage or a shelf or a room full of these courses, and they all have kind of conflicting advice. Or maybe you buy a course saying, well, you know what? This is a really, really good course on how to build an AdSense site. I really want to teach that. So I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to use any of it, but instead I'm just going to, learn everything and copy it and teach it back myself, and I'll make $1 million that way, right? Or, what also happens is that people buy a course and they'll take, say, for example, one of our courses on, say, like webinars, and they'll go through all the different modules, and there'll be one area where Lance and I will say, use this one piece of software, use this one tool when you're doing webinars. And they say, nope, I don't agree with that. They say, I agreed with this, with this, with this, with this. But once they get to that one module they don't like, they say, nope, the course is done. And so are you seeing a pattern here? When you see people say things like, well, Google Penguin or Google Panda is the reason I'm not making money, the pattern here is that you're not adapting at all. And the pattern here is that you're falling into the same habits that kind of got you to the place where you were, where, you only buy a course if it contains 100% new material, and if there's one thing in there that you've already seen, no, refund, can't use it. Or you buy a course, and if there's one thing that you didn't know, then nope, that's not important, can't use it. And so it's really important to kind of rise above it, I guess, and become more self-aware of you and your surroundings. And instead of looking for excuses to stop, instead of looking for excuses to fail, you say, here's my goal, here's where I want to go, I'm going to buy this course, going to use this tool to get where I need to go, and continue from there, if that makes sense, okay? So I hope that wasn't too hippie or too out there or too abstract, but this is all really, really important stuff. Getting yourself fixed is more important than the actions you take. They're both important, but you got to take care of yourself and then start making that progress. So now once you have yourself figured out, how do you make money? Well, the easy answer is get a lot of people to come to you and then give them an irresistible offer and then collect the money, right? I mean, that's as simple as I can make it. And so I know that every single person on this call has a skill, has an idea, knows what they want to do. Maybe you have a product, maybe you don't. Maybe you have a list, maybe you don't. Maybe you have a Facebook following, maybe you have access to a forum, maybe you have a friend with a high traffic website. But let's get people to see you and then give them something for sale. I know that having stuff for sale is kind of scary, but if you sold something for $100 that gave back $1,000 in value, would that be worth it? Sure. Could you show me some, I don't know, like real estate technique if I was interested in real estate that could save me $1,000 and make me $1,000 flipping a house? Would that be worth $100? Yeah, it would. Could you do that for either a service or for a product? So is it scary to charge $100 to set up a WordPress blog with no plugins, with no content? Sure. Do people pay it? Well, yeah. Because the alternative is that maybe they have to pay someone else $1,000. The alternative is they have to learn all this stuff, $1,000 worth of time and energy and effort. They'd rather just pay you to get it set up. I mean, I know that back in the day I was doing web templates. This is before I was even a programmer, and I'd make all these different designs. And one guy told me that he'd pay me $100 per template. And I think I had like 100-something templates. And you know what happened was I spent about a day, making them all perfect, and then I didn't follow up with them. Because I thought, oh, well, there's no way that could work. There's no way anyone would have $100 to spend on me to buy all 100 of my templates, except for he did. And he ended up going with someone else. But if he had actually bought my templates, he would have paid me $100 per web template, but he would have made thousands of dollars for each and every one, so it would have worked out for everybody, but my own personal hang-ups at the time held me back, but now I'm better. Now hopefully you're getting better as well. Because we want to make $10,000 in 30 days. Because if you think about it, we talked about having a reason why. $10,000, okay, it's a number. But if you think about it even more, 10 grand is a long vacation, could be a college fund, means you could quit your job, maybe you pay off your debt, maybe add to your retirement account, maybe make a down payment on a house or a condo or something, get a car or a jet ski. And $10,000 for many of you is too big of a number or too small of a number because of your limiting beliefs. But if you break it down, it's $2,500 in 1 week. And if that's not enough money for you, well, then that's $2,500 extra in addition to what you're making in 1 week. But for most people on this call, $10,000 seems like a lot of money. Until you break it down, okay, well then let's figure out how to make $2,500. That's a more reasonable number to start with. All right, but then, okay, well great, how am I ever going to make 2,500 big ones in a week? Well, pretty simple. If you can sell a piece of software, a plugin, a video course, a written report, whatever, for $66, you sell 152 copies of it, that's your 2,500 in a week. If you can sell a training course for $100, and you know what, if you're brand new and you have to throw in a phone call, or you have to throw in some kind of live stuff, throw in a part of you because you're brand new, because you're still proving yourself, because you don't have a big enough list yet, then go ahead and do it. I mean, man, if I had known Lance when he was first getting started and he was setting up people's websites, setting up people's affiliate programs, if Lance said, for $100, I'm going to teach you how to set up a 100% commission affiliate program, and you're going to get my videos, plus on top of that, I will install this software for you, well, done, forget it, easy. And if Lance made a handful of sales at that point, jack it up to $500, jack it up to $1,000, and when people stop paying, well, then that's the time to stop increasing the price. But until then, everything's fine. And even if you were wanted to do something like that where you gave someone a high-end server, you said, okay, I'll set up WordPress for you, I'll set up this theme, I'll set up this local business stuff for you, this Google Maps plugin, the security plugins, this backup stuff, this membership plugin to take payments. Would that be worth $1,000 for someone to have a whole entire business where they could now take credit card payments, where they can now automatically fulfill orders, where they can now send emails? You better believe that's worth $1,000. So if you set up 10 of those in a month, now that's $10,000 in 30 days. So just looking at this big, huge number, this big, huge roadblock, it's real easy to quit. It's real easy to say, all right, well, you know, that's good. Maybe that's not for me. I will never get to that point. But you start breaking it down. You're like, well, I can do that. I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. So now that you've kind of broken it down, that's the direction that we need to get into. And you need to earn what you're worth. It was a real long road for Lance and I to get used to charging a slightly higher price than we were comfortable with. And you know what's funny is it meant that we'd sell out a course in a week instead of a day. But we'd make more money, we'd have better customers, and we have a more fun time doing it because we were dealing with these high-ticket $1,000 buyers and no longer the $10, for lack of a better term, bottom feeders. I hate to be rude about it, but that's kind of how it feels a lot. I know that many of you who sell $10 products deal with this. You deal with people who they buy a quick ebook, they don't really use it, or they complain, or they'll refund 10 seconds later. And once you get to a higher price point, once you get into, you're providing a service, once you get into you're charging $1,000, that's a whole other ballgame. So if you have some kind of skill, and we were talking about WordPress setup, well, now that's something that you can at first do for someone and then teach someone how to do. All right? If you can show me how to get any web page I want on the first page of Google, or how to get any YouTube video, how to get 1,000 views in a day. That might seem like something really simple for you, but I have no idea how to do that. So if you have just one thing that you could teach me, well then now that's something that you can be an expert in, that's something that you can get paid for. But the problem is most people think that they have no way to monetize it, because isn't everything available for free on YouTube and in articles? Well, in pieces, sure, but not a whole training course, and not it actually done for me. And another problem is that no one can find you, right? You've been told that you can just set up a web page online and people will just flood to it. Well, and then that didn't really happen, did it? You actually kind of have to do a couple extra steps to get people to come to your list. You might have to set up an affiliate program, make a Facebook fan page, post articles and videos consistently, get a name capture page, and get people to keep coming to your site, keep building your list, and then you can start and keep building or launching products. And this isn't just related to WordPress or internet marketing. Many names on the call I recognize. Many of our students are in storyboarding, embroidery, carpet cleaning, real estate, all kinds of goofy little things that you just wouldn't think made a bunch of money on the internet, but it does. And a big reason why things like street fighting or things like logo design make a lot of money on the internet is because the competitors don't even know what they're doing. The competitors don't have name capture pages. They don't know about split testing. They don't know about, following up. They don't know even how to make videos. Okay? So I hope that many of you so far are kind of saying or thinking the term, I'm getting it. I hope that we're kind of slowly opening your eyes to what needs to happen, because you do kind of have to refix your attitude, get your head on straight, but just hope alone won't do it. Trying 100 different things and hoping that one will finally work won't do it. Having a 1 mile long to-do list won't do it. But you know what does work? Is this thing called modeling. It's not copying, but let's look at what other people have been doing along the way, because they have blazed the trail before you did, and let's repeat their successes. And that means if you see someone's sales letter, and you see that their sales letter looks a certain way, or does something kind of cool. Maybe their sales letter does something like, pops up the order button, a minute after you land on the page, so you can then view the video and then buy from them. Maybe you see a lot of people making videos on a web page in general, and now you're going to make a video that's not a knockoff or a spoof of their video, but kind of saying, okay, well, here's why that video worked for me. Now I'm going to repeat the process. And guess what? Hint, hint, what are we on right now? We are on a webinar right now. So if you see, for example, everyone and anyone running webinars, then maybe there's something to that. And sure, it might be kind of scary at first. Sure, you might have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, but let's think about what's the end goal, or what's the first goal of many, what's the prize, is that you want to make more money. So if doing something like making a video, making a web page, charging more, running a webinar, if that is a little bit scary, a little bit uncomfortable, maybe new territory for you, well, that's one thing. But if that means that you can make an extra 10, 50, 100 sales of your product, is that worth taking that little step? Well, I think it is. And one thing that has always kind of worked for us, and has never changed, even though, everything always looks different. You bring in social media, bring in all kinds of new techniques. What's always worked for everyone on internet marketing, no matter what niche, is this thing called a product launch. Have you guys heard of this? And pretty much what you do is you make a big deal out of what you have for sale. What a concept. So, just to make it simple, if you're an article writer, and normally you charge $10 per article. So to write 10 articles, you charge $100. What if for one day only you said, all right, before I was charging, there's my pen, I was charging $100 to write 10 articles. How about just today? It's $100 for 15. All right, that's kind of a promotion, right? That's kind of a product launch, and this has always worked, where you introduce some kind of an introductory price or a time-limited bonus. Maybe you say, well, I'm going to write you 10 articles, but you have to buy today, because then I'm going to throw in this extra video on how to get the most out of your articles. Or if you buy today, then I'll write these 10 articles for you, and once they're online, once you've posted them, send me links to them, and I'll make sure they're all ranked highly in the search engines. I'll ping them all out, I'll get link backs, I'll do some other thing. Maybe you say, I'm going to write articles, but right now I can only take 10 people. Oh wait, now it's 9, now it's 8, and as a sales command, you update that number and you tell the truth, and now it's closed up. And the whole reason why you do this is, well, because it works and because you can. And and even people on the call like Jeanette know that in the past, I've done things like, I used to launch a product and say, I'm only going to sell 50 copies. And then it's closed up. I sold 50 copies and it closed up, and people were angry. And that's a pretty good place to be. I didn't make a habit of it, but it's a pretty good place to be when people are mad at you because they can't buy from you. So, it's your rules, it's your product, it's your market, you can do what you want, but just doing things like this, making a big deal out of what you have to offer, really helps. Now, you might have seen the old way that product launches worked, and what happens is that you wake up one morning and suddenly there are about 100 different emails in your inbox saying, oh, this guy Lance Tamashiro, he's doing great. He's got this new course on affiliate programs, you got to buy it. And every single email you read that morning is all about Lance Tamashiro and his affiliate programs. Every single email. And you think, wow, everyone's talking about this guy. I've got to buy from him. And that's the way it used to work, right? You see a flood of emails all about the same person, about the same offering. You think, so many people are talking about this, I've got to buy right now. And, well, that kind of did work except for, if you'd made let's say $1 million launch, okay, so like a $1 million launch, let me get a better pen color, keep having to alternate here, $1 million launch, right? But then half of it goes to the affiliates because those people who promoted you, well, they had to get something out of it. So then you go down to $500,000, which is still pretty good. But then, because it's a huge product and, a lot of people bought it who shouldn't have, now it goes down to about $250,000. And that's still pretty good, except for now you owe a favor to 100 different people. And I mean, is that a 100% wrong, evil way to do things? Well, no, that's one way to do it. It's not something I would do because now I have to spend the whole year paying off that debt, and now I have to live on that $250K for the whole year, meanwhile promoting everyone else in the process. And it's funny because, I mean, it's not as bad or as huge or as organized as it used to be, but that's kind of the idea. And so, I mean, we look at that and we can either, have that mentality of a yes or no, right? Like that crappy mindset of, well, either I'll do a product launch or I won't, and because there's one thing, I'm not going to do it. Well, there's good things and there's bad things, right? What I think is a better way is pretty much, for lack of a better term, a mini product launch. And I've been doing these for the past 10 years, and what I do is I build up what I'm going to be releasing that week, and I build it up for about a week, and then everyone buys it all at once. And it's the weirdest thing. I've tried it all kinds of different ways, and when you just come out and say, here's my stuff, yeah, you'll make some sales. But if you build up and make it a big deal, kind of treat it as like a press release or like a launch event, then that's going to make you a lot more sales. And even on the call you're on today, well, did I just wake up this morning and say, okay, I think I'm going to do a webinar, going to present for an hour, going to pitch at the end? Well, no, we've been promoting this for the past 4 or 5 days. So you can do this for your own list. You can do this for your own Facebook followers, your own email subscribers. Pick a day a week from now and set that date in stone. Figure out what you're going to be talking about, what you're going to be pitching, and then build up to that. And it really works pretty well because there's no relying on affiliates. You don't have to call 100 different people. And sure, you might not make 100 times the sales, but you'll make more sales than you're currently making. There's no year-long buildup. You don't have to owe anyone else a favor. If it doesn't work, you can adjust and do it again. And there's almost no risk. I would actually say there's no risk because the only risk is that you don't make any sales, which is where you were before you did the launch. So even if you make a handful of sales, even less than you'd want, maybe you'll be a little bit disappointed, but you'll still make some extra money by using this really cool technique. So, I mean, it seems real simplistic, but it is. Make a big deal about what you're about to offer, build up to it for a week, and then, make it a launch. Give it some extra bonuses, limited number of slots, stuff like that, maybe introductory price, increase the price later. But if you notice things that Lance and I do, like with our backup plugin, I mean, every couple of weeks, every month, we're finding some new newsworthy reason to make a big deal about it, do a new launch about it, and it works every single time. And for me, I mean, I send out emails pretty much every day, and some are great, some suck, but I don't care because even if 19 of my emails suck, and then on day number 20, it gets people to buy, well, then it's done its job. So it's kind of a safe place to just try stuff. Some stuff works, some doesn't, but you're not out anything if a webinar fails, if a launch fails, if an email fails. You just do it again. And eventually then you'll figure out, what was I doing wrong? What bonus was I leaving out? What one thing was I not explaining? And now you figure it out. And where most people kind of gave up, most people found that one reason to quit, you kept going, you got to your goal. So, I mean, what if you dusted off some old ebook or report of yours? Or maybe it was something that you bought rights to. What if you found that old ebook and you promoted it, right? What if you put it on a web page, put up a video, did a webinar? What's the worst that could happen? 0 sales. All right, but now you're back who you were, and you took that effort of actually setting up on a web page where now someone could buy. If you set it up, and I mean, let's just say even on another worst case, let's say you set up your $50 course, you spent a week or a couple of weeks building it up, and it only made you 10 copies of $500. Okay? And let's say you ran like a 1-hour webinar promoting that. Now you made $500 an hour, worst case. So even when it fails, then it succeeds in a way. So, I mean, what if you went to someone else and you had this skill? You said, I'm going to set up your autoresponder. I'm going to run a webinar for you. We're going to send a voice blast to everyone else for $10,000. maybe some people will say no. Maybe some people will talk you down to $2,000. But to set up this whole business, set up email marketing for them, webinar marketing for them, text message marketing for them, that's worth $10K to many, many people. What if you had an idea to solve someone's need? What if you said, all right, well, I'm like a mindset coach, and people need these 4 things fixed in their life. I'm gonna I don't know if you know how to hypnotize someone or something. I'm going to solve people's problems, be their online therapist. I don't know. But what if you said, I'm going to make this class with these 4 modules. You didn't make the class yet, but you promoted it. And if you made 3 sales, you made 10 sales, you made 100 sales, now you say, now I have this live audience to run this class with. Well, now, once I'm presenting you with these possibilities, now $2,500 in a week now seems pretty easy, right? I mean, if I want an extra $3,000 today, I find an old product that we haven't promoted in a month or 2, run a webinar promoting it, and boom, now I made a handful of sales. If I want an extra $20,000 this month, what we do is we figure out what's an old course of ours that needs updating, or there's new things to say, or what's a need in the marketplace. People don't know how to set up an affiliate program, how to set up a Facebook fan page, how to put videos online, how to make a product. We say, we're going to make this new course, going to make a big deal about it, build up to it for a week, launch it and pitch it, and now teach it as we go along. And now we have a product recorded that we can sell over and over again. And I mean, you do have something to say, and people are willing to pay you for it as long as you just raise your standards and have a better attitude about it, okay? So I've been telling people what to do if they want to see big results fast, and it's just choose a topic to talk right now that you know how to do it, and that you actually do it, and that way it's not any extra time wasted. You can just show people your system, show the things you normally do, and now it will make a way better training course. And then what you do is create a 1-hour pitch, just showing the result, showing a magic trick, presenting that offer, and then maybe, if you want to run a couple other webinars afterwards to enhance and make it better, you can, but it's really easy. I mean, I've done this with some of our courses like Speed Copy, Plugin Dashboard, Newbie Crusher, set up a fan page, membership queue, backup creator. Sometimes in a couple of days, sold hundreds or even thousands of copies very easily, and made a bunch of money, made a bunch of recurring income just from finding a need, having something to say, showing it. Sounds real simple, but it works. And I mean, you can do this too. Just set up a 1-hour webinar with a bold promise, teach for an hour, have an offer at the end, and then at the end pitch your webinar course. All right? But then the issue is, okay, well now, hit one roadblock, can't do it. Well, no, you can keep going, because the number one issue is, well, now what webinar service do I use? Well, Microsoft has one, Adobe has one, Cisco has one, there's a bunch of other ones. What Lance and I use, what you should use, what I see everyone else using, is GoToWebinar. It's $99 a month, but if you make one sale or a couple of sales, it's paid for itself. And I mean, as soon as I see it, way more people using anything besides GoToWebinar, then I will think about moving. But right now, I mean, forever, the standard has been GoToWebinar. And webinars are scary, but they mean more money. I mean, think about how many webinars you've been on, or if you've heard about just this year, just this month. So use GoToWebinar, because you can build that relationship and end up kind of talking like your customers. You end up having that time-limited scarcity. You can say, we're only going to be selling this number of copies tonight, and then it's closed up. You can get your best customers in one place, and if you don't have customers yet, what you can do is go to some kind of a community. Go to a membership site, like a paid one would be good. Go to a forum and say, I'm going to run a special training call just for these people. And you can just use your same presentation as you normally do. And in fact, improve your pitch, improve the things you're going to talk about. And as you can even tell from this training call, the emotion and the energy, all that stuff really rubs off on people and really does a way better job than just a boring old sales letter or a boring old email would. And you can just keep getting your offer better and figure out what your best offer is, okay? So many, many times I've made $10,000 in an hour, and I want to motivate you, show you, and train you to make your next webinar a success, okay? I want you to make $100 easily. And then, like we said, with the kettlebell, right? Improve that webinar muscle, get it to $500, $1,000, $10K, $20K, $30K per webinar, and many of our different students have. And in fact, I want your life to be divided into the time before you began running webinars, and then now the time you or have been running webinars because it's so easy. I mean, I can't think of one time I've made a product that was not live. I can't think of one time we have pitched a product that was not live unless it was a recording of a live webinar, if that makes sense, okay? So we're going to be training you about webinars, okay? And we're going to be showing you how to limit your pitch webinars to an hour, how to get over your confidence issues, how to get people on your webinar and build a list and actually build a responsive list in a certain way. You can actually use webinars to build that list, how to keep your attendees interested so that they'll stay on, they'll learn, they'll get results they buy, and how to even do some crazy things. They seem crazy at first, but now it's pretty standard to run a class that lasts for one day where you charge $1,000 per person. Sounds crazy, sounds scary, but it's easy when you know how, when you use the formula. And I'm going to flash the formula right across the screen real fast, so pay really close attention. It's this thing called attention, interest, desire, action. And when it comes to teaching or making a webinar, it's this thing. It's called why, what, how, what if. And if we just make it real simple, let's just ignore the what if for now. But I mean, if I tell you something, well, let me just tell you, you know, why webinars are important, why product launches are important. Now that I've told you that, let me tell you what's the overview of doing product launches. And now let me get you into how to do it step by step. And now that we're at the end, the what if. So now that we're done, what's the call to action? What's the thing to do at the very end? And so what Lance and I have done, we've tried all kinds of different ways. And when we have a 1 hour presentation, well, we'll start off with just some kind of I guess like you could call it a pep talk, a pattern interrupt, a hook. For 10 minutes, focus on the why. For 15 minutes after that, we'll focus on the what, the high level, the 100,000 foot view from way up high, what's the big picture. For 20 minutes, we'll get into the how, the step-by-step, the magic trick. If this is a piece of software, we'll be like, well, whoa, what's something really cool that we can show someone right now? What kind of results can we show? And that's even what we did earlier in this call. But what's something we can show someone in for 20 minutes to wow someone? And now they're kind of at the peak of the webinar. Now let's say, okay, well, now that you've seen that, imagine what I have behind the doors of this next step, which is inside our paid training program, which is where the really, really good stuff is, which is where all the tools are, which is where we help you personally. And it's not just me talking to you, it's kind of a feedback loop. It's like you show me or you tell me what's going on with you, and we'll get you to run your next webinar, next 10 webinars. If you can run a webinar and make $100, we'll say, let's look at that. Let's turn it into a $2,000 or a higher webinar, because Lance and I have over 1,103 hours of experience from running live webinars. And these are real hours. I didn't just make this up. This is from an actual spreadsheet where we catalog every single webinar we've ever done. It's 566 total webinars in the last 3 years. And we run webinars because we don't want to be such a commodity. Because if you're on the internet, especially today, it's really difficult to stand out, isn't it? It's real easy for you to look just like everyone else, because when an email comes into someone's inbox, well, your email is pretty much the same font, the same size, same everything as everyone else. But now once someone can hear your voice, now you've got a little advantage, don't you? When you can show a video, you got a little advantage, don't you? When you show a live video, now you have even more of an advantage. And now it kind of turns into, well, if someone going to you, like they walk into a gas station where they just need to buy, like, you know, gasoline, or they need to buy a soda, or they go in to you for an experience, like when you go to a jewelry store, they're looking for something specific and they want to get a clear result out of it. So now no one is going to have to worry about, well, what price are you charging? Well, the price you're charging is the price that you decided to charge. And so no one's going to say, oh, is it $10 I'm buying? If it's $500 I'm not buying. Well, no, it depends on what it is that you're offering. Now people aren't going to ask, well, how many pages is your ebook? How many minutes of video? Or how many times are you emailing me? I'm emailing you enough times for it to make sense. I'm giving you enough video, enough pages of the book for it to actually get the results that you need, that you deserve, that you're 100% confident you're going to get. And this is all inside of the webinar training series where Lance and I are dedicated, we're pretty much obsessed to getting you to that next level and to getting you to run this mini product launch called a webinar. And it's always so funny. I honestly think that webinars are finally starting to lose the stigma. They're starting to not become scary. They're starting to become mainstream. Everyone does them. But there's two parts to that. Everyone's now doing webinars, but everyone is making the same common mistakes. They'll do a webinar at the last minute. They'll just mail for it and suddenly wonder why I emailed from my webinar 10 minutes ago. How come I only got 10 people to show up? Or maybe they'll chicken out. Maybe they'll say, I'm going to do a webinar, but only 5 people registered. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to cancel it. Maybe they ran a webinar, but they were so worried about one little thing going wrong, they scripted the whole thing out, spent 10 hours scripting a 1-hour webinar, and they come on, they're like reading from a piece of paper saying, welcome to my webinar today. And then they're not honest, not genuine. Now they're not saving all the time they would have saved by running a live webinar. People with these hang-ups again, this inner conflict, this one foot on the brake kind of thing, where they're afraid to pitch, afraid to ask for money, or they kind of chicken out or do kind of a lackluster pitch. They are not totally confident about their offer, or they just hear about little things here and there, because it is honestly really dangerous to apply every single thing to you hear. Remember we said that sometimes procrastination is good. You might hear this one article or this one video or this one thing on a message board saying, well, you know what you should do is run a Q&A session at the end of every webinar, and we don't do that. And every webinar I'm on that does something like this, like a Q&A session at the end, and it's running for like 3 or 4 hours. It's really boring, and I just see that like, well, that's something that we've tried once, but we're not going to repeat it again. So after running, what was that number again? 566 webinars, I think we've got a few things right. I think we've got a pretty good system down that you can follow, and now you can get the same results from webinars as we have been getting. So inside of Webinar Chrusher, we're going to show you how to create content, how to make money as an affiliate with webinars, how we create and organize and run our live webinar classes. And there's even someone on the call right now, our very good friend Dr. Deborah is in this training course, because we have our students inside our training courses who created a product live, who didn't think she could do it, but then we said, well, no, it's easy. Here, we'll get Lance to do it with you. And then we sent her, we made her a DVD and a CD in 20 minutes, sent her copies of it, and then she put a video online, all kinds of cool stuff, all because if you haven't done it, it is hard, it is scary. Do it once, now it's easier. We're going to show you how to host a webinar with panelists, do all kinds of advanced stuff, how to build a list, build a membership site, how to do a day class, how to get webinar confidence, and how to create your presentation, how to make an instant product using the dummy method. No one else does this, but it works and it makes the best product possible. How to make a pitch webinar, how to do an offer stack like I'm doing for you right now, and how to have live interaction and a Q&A call. So inside of Webinar Chrusher, there's all these different training modules that get dripped out for you right at the exact time you need them, so you're not overwhelmed. You get the pieces as you need them and you use them right on time. We're going to give you our 100 PowerPoint designs, including the one that's on here right now. So if your attitude is, well, I can't run a webinar because I don't know what presentation, well, now we've solved it, because now we'll give you the exact template to run your webinar presentation. And you know what? We're going to give you all of our pitch webinars. We've just passed 100 pitch webinars just like this one. They're all recorded, all in the members area. And now you can just pick one and say, okay, well, I'm going to use this presentation. I'm going to change around the slides, but I like how you did this, this, and this. And now I'm going to use that to make money from my own webinar. No one else does this. And now you might be thinking, well, okay, now what holds me back is you've given me the training, PowerPoint templates, the swipe file, the pitch webinars. Now I'm not able to run webinars. I don't have the GoToWebinar service. Well, how about this? If the first person to order right now from webinarcrusher.com was given GoToWebinar for free, and that person was you, well, would that get you to join? Yes or yes? Well, if it is, go ahead right now to webinarcrusher.com and join, and we'll give you a free GoToWebinar account for free for the entire time you're in the course. But you might be thinking, well, limiting beliefs again. Oh, well, I can't join because, you know what, one person's probably already joined, not even worth it. I should just go home. Well, okay, how about if you're the second person? Okay, the first person and the second person get GoToWebinar. You might be thinking, okay, well, what if those are filled up? Okay, the first 3 people, how about everyone who orders right now today gets GoToWebinar account, 100% free, in your name. You can run unlimited webinars. It's with your name. You have your own separate login with GoToWebinar, and it's included as part of our course, okay? We pay out of pocket the full price for your GoToWebinar account. You get everything you need to run a webinar. We add new pitch webinars added every month. We add a monthly live Q&A call to answer questions. And you know that you'll need to, at some point, if you want to succeed, is get over yourself, get over that confidence issue, and run your first awkward webinar so that your second webinar will be much less awkward. Okay, it's just $97 every 30 days, because honestly, I think anyone and everyone needs to create their content live, period, whether it's a sales pitch, their product, bonuses, build a list, joint ventures. So you can either get left behind and not do webinars, or run a webinar and now kind of get to that next level and get with the program and keep making money and keep making more money every month on the internet. That was not a typo. GoToWebinar costs $100 a month, but that's all you pay, plus you get all of our stuff, our training, our tools, and many people have canceled their existing GoToWebinar account and then joined up with our training because we include GoToWebinar for free, all right? And if you really are a STAR student, and you really do need to get through the training faster, we have no problem whatsoever with unlocking additional training as you continue through the course. So if you want to go a little bit faster, because this is a continuously paid course, we'll open it all up for you if that's what you need to get past your roadblocks. So it's $97 every 30 days for all the training that we talked about. Okay, free GoToWebinar account, free webinar opt-in software that I don't have time to get into, our monthly Q&A calls, our 99-point webinar checklist. We have recordings of all of our previous student webinars to learn from. We have 100 PowerPoint designs, 100 of our pitch webinars. And here's something that's really cool. I know some people like Sophie will like a lot, which is I'm going to have our automated system call you on the phone every single day. What's going to happen is your phone's going to ring and a 1-minute message from me will play on the phone every single day. And it'll be a different message. On some days it'll say just go and log into the members area. Some days I'll have a question for you or an assignment from you. But I'm going to keep you accountable. And for every single day for the next month, I'm going to be calling you on the phone, getting you to do the next logical step when it comes to webinar. So if you want that, you got to join right now. If you're already in Webinar Crusher, there's a form in there to type in your phone number and get subscribed to that daily phone call system. If you miss the, I think it's going to call like noon Eastern. If you miss a call, it'll go to voicemail. And if you want to opt out, you can hit a button and it opts you out. No big deal. But it will call you every single day for a month. So if you want to get your butt kicked, then do it right now. Paul says he's signing up right now just for those daily accountability calls. We're also going to send you 12 physical DVDs in the mail. I know we're playing a lot, aren't we? And 4 of them will be the Webinar Crusher modules, and the final 8 will be our last 8 months worth of Q&A calls. Our last 8 meetings where we talk about different things like changes in webinars, changes in screen recordings, how to do a rebroadcast, all kinds of advanced stuff. You're going to get, I think going back to like November, so every month since November, including this month, you're going to get all those discs at once in the mail. Pop them in your TV, get some popcorn, sit on the couch, watch the last few Webinar Crusher meetings. And we're going to have an upcoming session where we go through your webinar and critique it and make it better no matter what it is. If it's teaching, if it's a pitch, it's actually better if it's a pitch, but we'll get you to double or triple or quadruple yourself, whatever you want. But there's always, immediately I see webinar presentation and there's like 5 or 10 things off the bat that I would change that I know every time will make you more sales. So all that totaled up is a $4,237 value, because you need 4 components. You need training, you need reference, you need coaching, you need tools, and this is all included inside what we think is the best webinar training course on the market. So there's a new coaching call every month, and for today, it's just $97 and then $97 in 30 days. So you're going to get the technical and confidence webinar training to get your skills figured out. We're going to give you assignments so you get the motivation. We're going to give you PowerPoints and our pitches to give you the tools. And so we're going to help you make initial progress, okay? And so what you want to do right now is go to www.webinarcrusher.com, because what we have special for the first person, in fact, all the people who order today, is free GoToWebinar, DVDs, plus a phone call from me every day for a month. So there's easy ways to get in. Many of our students have joined and used the monthly fee as motivation to run their first webinar this week. Instead of next month, instead of next year, instead of never, they just run it this week right now to erase the cost. Some of our students have canceled GoToWebinar, join with us to make an affiliate pitch, a product, a bonus, host webinars for others, pitch products, run a Q&A session, accountability, just stay motivated, all kinds of cool stuff. So you can host webinars for others, make some extra sales, get a few extra subscribers, tons and tons of ways to justify using webinars, including launching that product you've been putting off. Okay, so join right now. It's $97 at webinarcrusher.com. That's webinarcrusher.com to get the past 21 Q&A calls. To have our system call you every day for 30 days, and that's it, to get you to run webinars, to run your first one, to run your next one, to stay motivated. We're going to give you a free GoToWebinar account or webinar option plugin, so I hope that by now you're getting it at webinarcrusher.com. So join right now, because on this upcoming Saturday, July 7th, we're going to meet at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And as a group, we're going to fix your webinar presentation, okay? And so that means if you have a PowerPoint, half done, all the way done but you're not happy with it, we'll look at it, we'll figure out what to change. If you've already run it, we'll look at the video and figure out what could you do differently next time. But either way, we're going to get you to run your first webinar or your next webinar for just $97 now, and then $97 in 30 days. So get it right now. Most of the GoToWebinar licenses that we already pre-bought, because we do pay GoToWebinar for you, most of them are gone, but aren't you curious? I mean, what would happen if you just try us out for 30 days? Aren't you curious to find out what would happen, how far your business will grow, how fast it would grow if you just ran a webinar to build a list, if you ran a webinar to finally make that product, if you ran a webinar to pitch your next product? I think it would really pay off quite a bit. So this offer may close at any time when we run out of GoToWebinar licenses, so I don't want you to waste the 5 or 10 years like I did. Just skip ahead, get this training, and run a webinar tonight, this week, this month, whatever is easiest for you. That's $97 now, and $97 again in 30 days. So let's go there right now together, and we're going to go right now. Open your browser, come on, at www.webinarcrusher.com. That's webinarcrusher.com. We'll go right now, and this web page will load, and what you're going to see is we're going to explain all the modules, and when you scroll down and scroll down and scroll down, there are all the bonuses explained, like the free GoToWebinar accounts, the bonuses such as the monthly Q&A calls, the bonuses such as the PowerPoints, phone calls. Here are the DVDs. You're going to get 12 of them from the first couple of modules, and then every Q&A session for the past, 8 months or so, and you'll be able to get it, watch it, and start using webinars right now today. So all this stuff explained for you right now. Just go to the bottom of the page, click on Webinar Crusher, $97 every 30 days. Click the button right now. Come on, go ahead, do it right now, and send your first $97 to Double Agent Marketing LLC. I'll type in the URL in the chat box. That is webinarcrusher.com. That's webinarcrusher. And I look forward to seeing you inside the members area, inside of webinarcrusher.com. My name is Robert Plank, and thank you.